isa't isa. So we have 3 lectures this afternoon. Would like to introduce them one by one. First would be Ms. May Kabutihan. It's her signing. She's working here in SEA, Center for Education and Access, Disability. For secondary education initiatives. In short, that's CESI. She's our head. And she's in charge of CESI. She's also faculty, teacher institute. Teacher Education Institute. And for partnerships in different schools. She started and the whole group started a program for high school cadet. It's such hard work. And who would volunteer to assist her in this project? That's why MMA, multimedia. You should have MA. You get friends or contacts, you can ask them if they have enough skill, and also if they can sign, that's good. And of course me, myself, and Krishna. Krishna. Sorry ma'am. See. Alright. Sorry, the last version of CD. Sige. Miss May is SPED and studying in special education. She's about to finish and she's in her dissertation. So let's give her a round of applause. Of course, she's studying in the Philippines, and in the future, perhaps she will be the principal of the high school program. Let's hope. Let's look for that. She has a sister, and her name is Levi, who is deaf and also working in Bohol. Ms. May will be lecturing about, this afternoon will be lecturing about the experiences, learning, and insights of the 3rd International Conference on Sign Linguistics and Demonstration. Let's give a round of applause again. Ms. May, the floor. Good afternoon po. Actually, dapat may opening remarks na. And I will give a brief overview about this learning session. Okay? So, welcome to everybody. Thank you for coming here to this learning session. Okay? So, last January 29 to February 3, 6 people from Estellas and 4 from our center, SEED, went to Hong Kong, Chinese University of Hong Kong, to attend the 3rd International Conference on Sign Linguistics. Okay? So this is a 4-day conference. A lot of researches, practices, programs were shared. Researchers from different countries, not only in Asia. There were participants from the States, from Germany, and all parts of Asia. The first 2 days were focused purely on sign linguistics, and the last 2 days were on deaf education. So, the purpose why SEED brought everybody to Hong Kong through the funding of the Free Education Network, the purpose is for us to learn about the current trends in deaf education and sign linguistics, so that we can bring these learnings here in SLEAS, be able to use it in our current practice. And also, for the planning and preparation of the model high school, hopefully, to be open by 2016. So we will be having 2 learning sessions, one today and one next Thursday. There will be 8 people sharing. From the 10 participants, 8 will be sharing. 2 people on, 2 people will give an overview. We'll share about personal reflections about the conference. One group will be sharing about sign linguistics, and the majority will be sharing about deaf education. So we hope that this afternoon you'll be able to learn something new from this session. So I will be the first sharer. I would like to begin by sharing a brief background about myself. So I've been a teacher of the deaf since 1995. But the sign that I learned was signing exact English. Okay? So I came from the Southeast Asian Institute for the Deaf. So that was my first exposure of signs. Of course, it is not a sign language, as we all know. So when I came here to CSP in 2009, that's when I started to learn FSL. So technically, I'm a new FSL user, and currently I'm still learning the language. A long way to go. Okay. And I have no background in sign linguistics. Okay, no background at all. So, okay. So, I was able to attend the conference, but only for the first 2 days. So, I only learned about, and listened on the different discussions on sign linguistics. So, these are some of the topics. As you can see here, psycholinguistic approaches, phonological structures, we have researches on morphology, lexical variations, etc. So they were using all these technical terms, and for someone like me who did not have any background in sign linguistics, it was tough, it was difficult. So what was my experience? Okay, so imagine me there, sitting and listening to all those speakers. By the way, there were 11 speakers per day. 11 researches were presented per day for 40 minutes to 45 minutes. So I was there sitting. So it was overwhelming at first. And also, I realized there was an obstacle for me. Okay? Obstacle in terms of understanding the different jargons, the different languages that they were using to explain their research, their studies. So it was challenging. So I said, I have to find a way to understand what is being presented, or I have to find a way to make, to take advantage of this. Ayoko namang umuwi na walang dala. So, it was also a humbling experience for me. Okay? So sabi ko, naku, ang tagal ko na sa deaf education, and yet, I did not know, or I didn't even encounter these things. I did not even study these linguistics. When ito yung very basic, ito yung language natin, and this is what I'm using in the classroom. Okay? And yet, I don't know anything about it. Okay? So it was truly an eye-opening experience for me. Okay? So, like pieces of a puzzle, so my brain tried to put the pieces of information together. Okay? So what I did was to list down the words that I did not understand. So it was really learning vocabulary for me. So I was just jotting down those words. And I said, when I go back home, I'll try to figure out what are these things. So what did I learn? So I learned about the definition of sign linguistics. So it is a scientific study of natural sign language. And what is natural sign language? It's a visual, gestural, non-vocal language primarily used by deaf people. So it is not based on spoken language. Okay, this definition is from Ono Krasborn, and he is a researcher also, a faculty in Radboud University, Netherlands. So he was one of the presenters. So what else did I learn? So I learned that there are 3 subfields of sign linguistics, or 3 areas, general areas of linguistics. So there's language form, language meaning, and language context. So I will be sharing about the first 2 only. So I realized that there is a parallel, between hearing language and that of sign language in terms of components of the language or structures. For example, in language form, we have for hearing people what we call phonology. Okay? So phonology for the hearing is basically learning the rules for the structure and sequence of speech sounds, or learning the letter sounds, putting them together to form a word. So if it's at, the sound at. So if you put them together, it's cat. So that's under phonology. In sign linguistics or in sign language, there's also an equivalent phonology pala. And I really didn't know anything about it. So it's the study of sign systems and sign units. And they said, under phonology, there's a concept called parameters. Okay? And parameters includes the handshake, location, movement, and palm orientation. So it's like, for example, when you sign the word mother and father, they have the same handshake, they have the same movement, they have the same palm orientation, but they have different location. So that's phonology when it comes to sign language. And then another concept under language form is what we call morphology. So under morphology for the hearing, so it's the study of the formation and composition of words. So morphemes, for the hearing people, it's the smallest unit of grammar. The smallest unit of grammar. So technically words. But there are also morphemes which are not words. Okay. For example, we have what we call free morphemes. And these are just basic words. In itself, it already has meaning. For example, work is a morpheme. So we know what work means. But there are also bound morphemes. And if you remember in your language, there's prefix, suffix. These are the bound morphemes. So when you attach them to a word, it changes the meaning of the word. Like unkindness. Un and the last one. Okay. So when it comes to sign language, there's also morphology, no? The formation and composition of signs. So sign language also have free morphemes and bound morphemes. So similar to that of the hearing language. Then we have what we call syntax. Okay. So syntax for the hearing means the formation and composition of phrases and sentences from these words. So it's really rules governing, combining different words to form a sentence. For example, for the hearing, we use the subject, action, object pattern. Okay. For example, for the subject, so may, okay, action is listening, object to music. So when it comes to the deaf, there's also what we call syntax. So the rules for combining signs. Okay. For example, we have time, subject, object, action. So that's why they have a different way of signing. And I realized the way I sign in the classroom, it's not really the deaf way, it's a hearing way because I follow the pattern of the hearing language because I'm not familiar with the pattern of the deaf. But maybe if I knew that, the pattern, then I would use it and maybe the students will be able to learn more, and probably appreciate the interaction happening in the classroom. Okay. Next, we have another part of linguistics is what we call language meaning. So we have semantics for the hearing. So semantics is the study of the meaning of a language or meaning of a sentence. For example, for the hearing, this is the sentence, dog bites man. Okay? So we fully understand what that means. So the dog bit the man. No? But when we change the location of the words and we say man bites dog, it's senseless for us. Because how can a man bite a dog? So semantics deals with the rules governing that. Okay. So with the deaf, there's also what we call semantics also. Sign language, the study of meaning. So I saw an example here, the word miss. Miss. So there will be different signs for just one word. For example, Paul missed his class. Paul missed his class. Missed his class. So how do you sign miss? Miss his class. Okay. Next, another is his glasses is missing. Is missing. So how do you sign miss? Here. So different ways. Yeah. Conceptually, you lose it or yeah. And then another word. Another sentence, I miss you. I miss you. So just one word and yet different meaning, different signs. So that's for semantics. Next. So we have also what we call pragmatics, or the study of how language is used. So it considers not only the literal meaning, but the implied meanings of a sentence. Okay. So for the hearing way, for example, a mother is talking to a daughter, and the mother says, "What time is it?" So it was already late, no? So it means that the mother is not asking really what time is it, no? But you came home very late. She's trying to say you came home very late. Okay. So that's for pragmatics. And then for the deaf, for sign language, so they also have pragmatics. It's how language is used. And they use what they call registers. And maraming registers. So these are just example. We have the formal. Or registers are the styles. Styles in sign. Different styles in sign. So you have formal signs, frozen signs, and informal casual. Okay. For example, informal sign, like I would appreciate silence for now. So how do you sign that? I would appreciate silence for now. And then, and then the next is if you sign please be quiet, that's less formal. Di ba? Challenging for the interpreter. Kasi you will really sign it differently na. Okay? And then isa yung shut off. Very close na rin. Shut off. So iba rin yung sign. So there are different styles of signing. Depende dun sa how close you are or your relationship with the person you're talking to. So that's under pragmatics. Ang frozen register pala, you use that style in signing when, for example, you're signing Pledge of Allegiance, you're signing a prayer. So it's something rote learned, it's something memorized na, tapos you're just signing it. No? It's frozen, you use frozen register. Prayer, panatang makabayan. And then you just sign it without, other expressions within. So, in summary, putting that together. So I learned that sign language has its own unique structure. The sign language has components, parallel to that of other languages. Actually, what I presented, the components are just a few of the many components. And then sign linguistics is a serious field that is being studied in several countries already by both hearing and deaf persons. Okay. So what are the implications of this? So what's in it for us? Or what are we going to do with this information? Okay. So implications to hearing teachers. So ako, I placed myself in that position. Sabi ko, okay, so knowing that there's structure, there's such a thing as sign linguistics, what do I need to do? So I need to have ample time for preparation of lessons. Okay? Not only for the content, but for the way I will be teaching it. And to make sure that I will be using the correct conceptual signs. Okay? Kasi sometimes, talaga, not only sometimes, siguro often, I would sign sentences the wrong way. For example, if I sign key concepts, sometimes I don't sign important concepts. I use the word key. Sometimes, especially if I'm already in a hurry, so I need to have ample time to prepare for that conceptual science. And for me to be able to enrich the discussions and interactions. So if I know the structure better of sign language, the more rich will be the discussion, interaction in the classroom. And I'm sure more learning will be done, will be happening. Okay. Second, there's a need to orient new teachers of the deaf about basic science structures for them to understand why the deaf express themselves that way and why they write the way they do. So, sa exposure ko dun sa, observing, talking to other teachers who are new, new to the deaf community, they would say, bakit ganyan sila magsulat? Bakit ganyan sila mag-sign? So, So, hindi nila naiintindihan na may structure kasi ito. And then third, there's a need to include the study of basic science structures in FSL classes, especially for hearing teachers while learning the language, and incorporate the study of basic sign in FSL so that hearing teachers will be able to sign better, sign the way the deaf do, if it's possible talaga, and to be able to read the signs of the deaf better. Okay. Implications to deaf teachers. Okay? So there's a need to be good language models to deaf students. Okay? Especially yung mga deaf teachers natin dito who already knows the structure and ano. Maybe they can show the students how it is used, how the signs are used effectively. So that they can communicate better, they can express themselves better, and also consciously teach the language structures. Kasi sa hearing, language is, well, isang point of view is that language is not just learned in itself, no? Parang it has to be taught, even the structures, no? So I think it's the same with the deaf. There's also a need to teach the young ones the structure of the sign language. And then there's also a need to have sign linguists among the deaf who will do further research on FSL. And then implications to the model high school. So there's a need to have a program for deaf high school students that will teach them about FSL basic structures for two reasons. Okay. First is for them to realize that their language is actually rich, it's unique, it's not inferior. So to boost their self-esteem. And second is to help them use their language effectively, like what I mentioned earlier. Another implication is need for high school teachers of the deaf to have basic knowledge of FSL structures so that they can use this as they do instruction and teaching. Second, so ito yung in-explain ko kanina, parang implication yun of a hearing teacher. If the hearing teacher knows how the structure of FSL, then the teacher can use that, match for the students. And third, there's a need to have teachers who are experts in both FSL and written language to be able to implement bilingualism. Actually, this is a work in progress. This is yung bilingualism, biculturalism is a philosophy we are considering for the high school. So we want our deaf high school students to be very good in their own native language and also in the written language. So sana we will have teachers who are competent in both. However, if this is not possible, then there's a need for co-teaching. So there will be one deaf and one hearing teacher in the classroom. So the deaf will do the signing, explaining, and the teacher will do the written part, writing things on the board for the deaf to understand the structure, the written structure of English. So these are just some of my references. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, checking the time, we have four questions, two questions. will allow the group to ask for questions. If you have anything to clarify. Or any idea you want to share?
Question.
Yes po.
Do we have actual experts here in the Philippines who sign linguistics? Or is there a related field to it?
So what I know is, Dr. Lisa Martinez is a linguist, from Gallaudet University. And then she has trained a group of deaf individuals. Parang yung, I don't know how extensive it was, but Rafi is part of that first group. Maybe you can ask Rafi how many are you in that training? So 6. And that was how many years ago? How many years ago? That was in 2003. And then after that, parang konti lang yung researches about sign linguistics. So hindi siya nag-develop, hindi siya nag-flourish. But then there are schools now in other Asian countries like Hong Kong who really offer a 4-year course and a master's degree program in sign linguistics. So sabi ko nga kay Ms. Kechi, sana we can send, our deaf faculty from here or other deaf professionals go there and study. Kasi karamihan naman ng nandun are scholars. Kailangan lang yung commitment to really stay and finish the program for 5 years. Kasi it's a fact, yung MA nila is 5 years.
If that's what you're saying, ma'am, 4 or 5 years po ang wala po bang online
They
studies
don't
na
have
meron?
online. Wala silang online. So, no online for sign linguistics, and they are very strict and the training is rigid. Training is rigid in sign linguistics. Okay. So there are admission requirements here. So Ms. Tess was able to get a brochure. So if you are interested, to apply. Yeah. So the admission requirements includes native life fluency in one of their country's sign language. So you must be fluent in FSL. Completion of grade 10 or higher. Grade 10 or higher. Willingness to work in their home country after graduation. Thus commitment to work towards the establishment of a university-level sign linguistics research and training program in your own language. And yun nga dun sa other universities, they have their sign language laboratories, they call it. So they really do research in sign language. Last one, kay
Implications po sinabi ng during students, so the teacher should be careful in their signs so that match yung fairness nila ng concepts ng lesson to the students. I suggest yun din po sana po sa mga deaf, kasi minsan po, the words that he needs will not understand, so i-explain pa, this is a suggestion, that the deaf teacher also should be fluent in signing the concepts. My experience in class, for example, I am a deaf teacher, but there's a difference in the level of understanding for the students. So, parang learner-centered po ang approach, iba-iba po. Kasi iba-iba nga po sila. Isa lang yung sign ko, pero kasi po sila, iba-iba pala yung background nila, iba nila yung sinus ko. So, iba nakaintindi, iba hindi. So, I try to find another way to explain the lesson to them. Yeah. So, ano yung bagay sa bata? Yun yan. And then, until everyone understands, do it in